Hey there, Twisted Sage here, coming to you on a Scorpio moon, currently at 11 degrees here in northern Arizona. Yes, I've missed a few moons. Potentially will. I'll try to come to you every moon, but moon travels so damn quick it's hard to keep up with it when you have to make money other ways. Anyways, well, today would be my dad's solar return. He was a Gemini. His birthday's tomorrow, but I believe right now, degrees wise, to 22 degrees is where my dad's sun was when he was born in 1954. One of these days I might be able to put some money into this Pops. Not that you care. Alright, Scorpio moon, deep emotions. I figured I'd talk on the subject of suicide and depression. So yes, my father did commit suicide. And through the studies I've done with that, it seemed to be people of heavy water signs in their charts. So I'm going to be glancing at my notes here. So we'll start with my dad, June 4th, 1954. Don't know what time he was born. Trying to figure that out. So perhaps a later update on that. Plus, knowing where your parents come from, it helps you know yourself a little bit better. Anyway, so notable notes. He had a huge stellium of cancer in his chart. I thought he had a Scorpio moon, but most of my going through my intuition and stuff, and the things I keep coming up with are probably more like showing Sagittarius moon, but early degrees. So he, until I get that accurate time of birth, he could have been late degree, 28, 29 degree Scorpio moon, which would make sense. If not, he's an early Sag moon. Okay, on to his cancer stuff here. Personal planets, he had Mercury and Venus in Cancer. He had Jupiter in Cancer. He had Uranus in Cancer. South Node in Cancer. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 different astral bodies all in Cancer. So that's a heavy Cancerian energy. Especially Jupiter. So it makes sense because my dad was a very kind man. Probably in it, the further back you go back in time, men weren't supposed to be sensitive. It was weak. In fact, I remember my dad, he was told by his dad that, men don't cry, boys don't cry. And one of my notable memories of when my grandfather was on his deathbed, my dad went out to go see him from Arizona to California, and he actually wanted to convey to my dad, he said, he told him it's okay to cry. But especially people born in the 20s, early 1900s, like, yeah, men didn't, it probably was very weak for a man to cry. But anyways, different topic, or different, that's not what I'm on right now. What else? Okay, so my dad had Saturn. He had Saturn in Scorpio. Again, Scorpio dealing with the deep emotion. So he had a lot of water going on there. One thing I've also seemed to notice with potential suicides, or there seems to be a fire element too, where we look at it one logical way, water's going to drown out fire if there's too much of it, or if there's too much fire and a little bit of water, the fire will burn out the emotion. But my dad did take his own life under an Aries sun. So if you look at just the simple basics, Aries squares any Cancer energy, they're both cardinal energies. Cardinal energies they exude the most, they have the most energy, but they also it's a starter energy. All right, let's jump on to Chris Cornell. I seem to be jumping into my news feeds quite a bit. So Chris Cornell was born 7/20, July 20th, 64. Late degree. So anytime late degrees or early degrees are always the most intense degrees. So anytime you have a planet in water signs in a late degree, I think this is a common factor you'll see in depression or suicide. So he was 28 degrees of Cancer sun. And actually I'm not specific on his death, but I know it was to his own hand, I'm pretty sure. He also had Saturn in Pisces, and he had Neptune in Scorpio. So, you know, I don't know. Again, these are rough. I don't know the times of birth on any of these people, but just doing a quick forecast on where the planets were at the time of on the day of their birth. Just the correlations I seem to keep noticing. So he had, you know, at least 3 of his astral bodies. So he had all 3 of the water, grand water trine, not exact to degrees, but Sun, Saturn, Neptune, Sun in Cancer, Neptune in Scorpio, Saturn in Pisces. All right, on to Kurt Cobain. Oddly enough, the 20th. And fuck, when I looked at his fucking chart, like, no wonder the dude was like super emotion. In fact, so he too embodied all 3 of the water signs. Cancer cardinal, Scorpio fixed, Pisces mutable. His Mercury, his Venus, his Saturn were all in Pisces. His Jupiter was in Cancer, and his Neptune was in Scorpio. One thing I am seeing here is he did have close to exact grand trine in emotion. So his Venus was at 26 degrees of Pisces, his Jupiter 25 degrees of Cancer, and his Neptune at 24 degrees Scorpio. He also had Cancer moon. So I mean, the dude was just, it makes sense. Because again, like, I have a Cancer moon, and it's like, some days, yeah, I escape from my emotional problems, but my whole life has been like an emotional fucking basket case at one end. Sometimes we're good at hiding it. I prefer not to. I don't, but it's like, if you're too emotional, you can't even live. All right, let's Chester Bennington. Let's see what time I got here. 10. All right, I think this is the Lincoln Park dude. So he was March 20th, 76. He too had all 3 of the waters in him. Another Mercury and Venus, Pisces, Mars, Saturn in Cancer, and Uranus in Scorpio. So his Saturn was 26 degrees, so those are later degrees, 29 being the last degree of any the last degree that any planet will go through before clicking back over to the 0 degree of the next sign. This Heath Ledger. Ledger, I think, was like a pill overdose. He was an Aries, 4479, but a lot of water in his charts, and he was another. How is that so? Yeah, sorry. Saturn 26 degrees Cancer, and he had Mars in Cancer. Outer planets are slower moving, so he also too had Uranus in Scorpio, and he was another Mercury, Venus, Pisces. So that's three in a row now. Mercury, Venus, Pisces. Cobain, Chester, and Heath. But yeah, Chester too was a Mars in Cancer. Mars, it's a very weak spot. My son's mom has Mars in Cancer, and my most significant love relationship, she too had, or most significant recent relationship, she had Mars in Cancer. But anyway, so that it's a kind of a debilitating spot, because Mars doesn't want to be all sensitive and kind. Like, Mars is the warrior, so it puts, putting Mars in Cancer is like kind of an oxymoron in a sense. But they are kind people. I mean, there is a very kind, but they can be passive aggressive type people. That's where Mars currently is, actually. All right, so Robin Williams here I actually have the ascendant on him. Some of my studies, I got this. So he's ascendant, so his rising sign, Scorpio. His sun, his Mars, Uranus, all in Cancer. Yeah, there's another Mars in Cancer. He was another late degree sun sign. So like, we're talking 28 degree sun sign in Cancer, and he was a Pisces moon. So again, this emotion, from deeper study, you probably start to see a lot of people seem to die during squares to their sun, or a square energy to these energies. Again, squares and oppositions are your most frictional energies. So I got a good buddy of mine who passed on. His grave's over here. He too took his life. Upon looking into his chart, I don't know his time of birth, so I don't know his ascendant, but he was a late degree Scorpio. I think we're talking 20. Oh no, what was my notable? So he had Sun Uranus conjunction with a 3 degree orb. So 24 degree Sun, 21 degree Uranus, both in Scorpio. He also had a lot of Sag in his chart, so there's that fire. Fire again is passion, and fire can be very compulsive. Maybe regretting certain. Again, there's obviously a pro and con. All right, one more before I go off the air. Before I have to find a internet that'll let me download this without taking hours upon hours. Anyways, Brittany Murphy. Brittany Murphy was born November 10th, 77. She was Sun, Venus, Uranus, Scorpio. And she was Jupiter in Cancer. I think she was a pill overdose, but again, I guess my point being emotion. Man, when you can't get past your emotion, you're locked there. Now it's not saying all like that emotion has to be negative, but when it's backed with negativity, it's hard to, we can simply drown in our emotions. I know firsthand. Anyways, no, hope it wasn't too dark. I know I'm scattered. Some things I don't think we can ever change about ourselves, but I definitely, the astrology helps us understand it at least.